Putting us on mute.
All right. Hello, everyone. And I'm so excited that you are here with me today. We are about to dive into busting the 3 biggest boundary myths. And I'm going to share my screen here and hope everything works perfectly. And the technology gods smile upon us. All righty. So busting the 3 biggest boundary myths. We're going to learn today the 3 biggest myths that are preventing you from establishing, communicating, and reinforcing healthy boundaries. Okay, this is being recorded, so some of you may be watching this after the fact. And I am still here. If you have any questions, my contact information is at the end, so you can reach out. All right, before we get started, I want to give you a little bit of an introduction as to who I am and where this whole journey started and where it's at right now. Some of you may know me, some of you are just meeting for the first time. So let's dive in. All right, who is Sheryl Green? We're going to do a couple of spots during my life, starting out with a 1985-ish. I'm not a great judge of age for kids, even when it comes to myself. So I'm going to guess I'm about 5 years old in that picture. And apparently I wanted to be a speaker even then. So wish I had remembered that for most of my career. But 1985 was about a year after my parents got divorced. They split up when I was around 3. Everything was finalized when I was 4. And my mom and I ended up moving in with my grandparents. So my grandfather was this warm, amazing, kind, sweet man who was supportive of everything. And my biggest memory of him is sitting at the dining room table. My hamster was passing, and my grandfather sat there and held the hamster and pet him and just comforted him until he took his last breath. So that's just the wonderful, warm, fuzzy feelings that I have and memories that I have of my grandfather. My grandmother, on the other hand, was an entirely different story. She was emotionally abusive to me. She was physically and emotionally abusive to my mom. So my childhood was basically walking on eggshells. I learned very early on that if I kept to myself, if I kept my opinions to myself, if I had very few needs, if I had very few reasons to be seen and to be heard, life was going to go a little bit easier. There were still the occasional outbursts, frequent outbursts, still just random things that would set her off. But I stayed quiet. And I learned that my place was really to take care of those around me, especially my mom. My place was to, you've heard the adage, children should be seen and not heard. That was very prevalent growing up for me. Hold on one second, just letting somebody else into the room. Okay, awesome. Hi, Diana. So childhood was really this ongoing lesson in don't have an opinion, don't have any needs, don't just be there and be quiet, and maybe you won't be abused. Okay. That went pretty much until I moved out of the house. But in 1996, that's around the next picture here, I was 16 years old. And if you're looking at the picture and you're thinking to yourself, wow, she happened to wear a lot of black that day, you are only scratching the surface. I was goth for about 6 years of my life. I wore all black. I had the coat, I had the boots, I had the black nails, I had black hair, even though you don't see it in that photo. And there was one night that I painted my face white to go to a Marilyn Manson concert. Took one look at my face, realized I looked hideous, washed it off, and went out for my evening. But what's important here is not my outfit. It's the fact that at 16, a teenager should be differentiating from their parents, from their families. That is the psychological term for really finding your own personality, finding your own way, and stepping back, not stepping away, but stepping back from who you've been as a child and becoming yourself as an adult. I did this a little bit differently. I took differentiating to mean that I could differentiate from the rest of the world, but not my mom. My mom was goth as well. She pretty much still is to this day. And the only approved rebellion, and yes, I realize the irony of that phrase, the only approved rebellion was being like mom. It was mom and me against the world. So I still had no idea who I was, what I needed, what I wanted. And that was even more evident in my choice of career path. Again, 16, I'm starting to look at colleges. I'm starting to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And my mom happened to watch a program on forensic psychology. And she came to me and said, oh my God, I just found this really amazing thing you should totally do. It's forensic psychology. You can be an FBI profiler. First time I'd ever heard of this. Sounded cool. I was obsessed with serial killers. I was like, yeah, great. Let's do that. Let's dedicate the next 6 years of my life to that. And I did. And actually did apply for the FBI, got my master's in forensic psychology. And since I'm sitting here in front of you, ladies, you can probably figure out that that is not what I did for a living. But I never even saw the program myself. Someone else told me, you should do this, and I did. So we're gonna time warp another 12 years, another decade and some. That is me in 2008. I wish I remember the name of that dog. I do not. He was not mine. But I was up at Best Friends Animal Sanctuary. And that is in Utah. If you've never been up there and you're an animal fan, largest no-kill sanctuary in the country. It's a magical, magical place. So the reason I was up there is because in 2008, my life fell apart. I was married to a man and living in North Carolina, and that man did something very, very, very bad. And we'll leave it at that because it's not about why my marriage ended. It's about why it started. Up until probably about 10 years ago, I believed that when someone liked me, when a guy was interested in me, I didn't really have a choice in the matter. If they liked me, well, that's probably all I'm going to get. I have the lowest self-esteem in the world. And if they like me, I mean, they must know better than I do. So I guess I'll just date them. And this backfired quite a few times, but I finally learned it after my marriage. I don't know why I dated him. A friend actually introduced us and said, this is not for you guys to date. I think you'd be terrible together. I just think you'd be good friends. Okay. And halfway through the first 6 months of us being friends, he said to me, I have feelings for you, and if you don't want to date me, I can't be friends with you. And that conversation has happened with more guys than I can even count. So I dated him, and we moved in together, and then he asked me to marry him, and I couldn't think of a reason not to. So I did. So once again, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted, and I certainly did not know how to say no when something wasn't right for me. And that brought me to here. This is sometime in the fall or early winter of 2021. And I say this is 2 days after my oncoming headlight moment. That oncoming headlight moment came, I was working full-time for an animal rescue. I was running my own content writing business. And every single day, I was just falling further and further behind. Give me 1 second, admitting somebody in. Okay. All right. Welcome, Shelley. I'm just giving a background of who I am. So thank you for joining us. So 2021, working full-time, running a business, and I am crashing. Just every single day, I'm falling further and further behind between the work responsibilities, the business responsibilities, the volunteer commitments I had made, the help that I needed to give my aging parents. Every day was getting harder and harder to catch up. And I started getting resentful. Even the people that I love, even the things that I cared about, I was resentful of having to help them and to do the tasks. My clients, perfectly good clients, they were very nice, but I resented them. I resented anything that put pressure on my time or my energy. And then the crying started. This isn't a huge for me, crying on a regular basis, because this is something I do pretty much every day, very in touch with my feelings. But the difference was I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't have a single conversation and not seriously lose it. And it was getting worse and worse, until one day I was running an errand for the rescue, and I'm driving down the road. It's probably about 6, 7 o'clock at night, and I'm getting like just fascinated by the lights of the oncoming cars. The headlights are shining at me, and I can't stop staring at them. And this quick thought pops into my mind that if I just crossed over the median, it would all just be over in a second. And I have never been so terrified in my life. Even in my late 20s, I was going through the divorce. I was going through a clinical depression, but I'd never actually thought about suicide. And the fact that it slipped into my mind and the effects that it would have, because obviously I would hurt someone else if I came into oncoming traffic. And the fact that I wouldn't be there to help anyone in my life, not the people, not the animals, no one. I pulled over to the side of the road, I calmed myself down, and I realized in that moment that something major had to give in my life.
It wasn't fun. It's like, holy cow, I had that thought. Really? What's wrong with me?
Yeah. No, it's not fun, but it is life defining. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So, whether you've had something as grave is not the word I'm looking for, as serious as I experienced and as Diana experienced, many of us have that moment, that realization that something just has to give. We're resentful, we're overwhelmed, we're depressed, we're anxious, and a change has to come. And that's what happened. It took about another 6 to 8 months for me to realize that my problem was boundaries, or a complete lack thereof. And it took another year to write this book, and another like 6 months due to some family explosion things happening in my personal life, to be able to get it out into the world. But this is why we're here today. You had me at no. It's I would like to say my best book yet. And we're here to talk about boundaries. All right, so let's dive in And what exactly are boundaries? Well, they're a magical phenomenon where your mental health improves, you gain respect from others and develop it for yourself, and you identify the relationships worth pursuing while finding the strength to release the rest. That is not exactly the dictionary definition of a boundary, but it's one that I like to share because for some of us, it feels like this magical experience that is for many out of reach. Okay. And so just for a second, what do boundaries mean to you? And we've got, there's only a few people on here. So if you just want to raise your hand and unmute, if you're comfortable sharing, when I say boundaries, what comes to mind? Nothing. There we go. Nothing comes to mind. Awesome. That's okay.
It looks like Allah's talking, but she's muted.
Oh, she is. Okay, hold on 1 second, and I'm letting somebody else in. Okay, we got Robin in here too. All right. And Allah, did you want to unmute?
No, I'm sorry. Actually, there was a phone call and I said, sorry, I cannot talk to you right now.
No worries.
But I can say something as to what your definition was. And to me, is boundary is when I can say no to something or to somebody without feeling bad about it.
Okay. All right. When you can say no to somebody without feeling bad about it. I like it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And Robin, welcome. Okay. So yeah, and look, there's many definitions of boundaries, but I'm going to share with you how I like to look at it. Think about property lines. Okay, so think about your house, your apartment, your farm, wherever you happen to live. There's probably something around it. You've either got a fence, you've got walls if you're in an apartment building, you've got a gate. There's something that dictates where your property ends and someone else's property begins, and vice versa. And if you might find it strange if you came home, you might be a little annoyed. If you came home and your neighbors were throwing like a big party in your backyard, right? That would seem a little odd if they hadn't come to you beforehand and said, hey, we'd like to, throw a graduation party in your backyard. Might be a little weird, might be uncomfortable. If you look out your window and your neighbor's dog is running around on your front lawn, digging up your sprinkler system and pooping everywhere, again, not okay. This is your property, and it's not okay. It's awkward. It's uncomfortable. It's wrong that somebody else is using it as their own. Those property lines are boundaries. And boundaries for ourselves are how we allow people to treat us. When I say us, I don't just mean our physical bodies, although physical boundaries and sexual boundaries are definitely a part of this, but it's also your material boundaries. So your clothes, would somebody borrow your sweater without asking, bring it back stained and missing a button? Would somebody come to you and a friend demand that you give them $5,000 as a loan, but then they never pay you back? Okay. So it's not just you, it's your aura. That's not the word I'm looking for. It's what surrounds you as well. Okay. How we allow people to treat us. And Allah, I'm gonna just kind of build on what you said there. You mentioned it's being able to say no without feeling bad. I'm gonna make it even simpler and just being able to say no. Because the not feeling bad part is gonna come later, but it is not necessary. You might feel a little cruddy when you're setting boundaries in the beginning, and that's okay. Okay, so I'm just kind of add to what you said. But that ability to say, no, that's not how you get to treat me. No, that's not how you get to talk to me. No, that's not, my money is not your money. My time is not your time unless I give it. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. But how do we even know that boundaries exist? If you are like me, you probably grew up in a household where this was not discussed. Boundaries were not a conversation. No one ever said to you, no, you don't have to kiss your Aunt Molly. If it makes you uncomfortable, you just stay over here and wave or do whatever makes you feel good. Probably no one ever said that to you. And I've got this astronaut up here because if you grew up in outer space and nobody ever taught you about gravity, and then one day you came to Earth, you'd be thinking, why the hell am I stuck to the ground? Because you don't know gravity exists. Nobody's ever explained it to you. And that's the same thing with boundaries. So if we don't know they exist, nobody ever taught us boundaries, and I'm not looking to throw blame on parents here. They don't know them either, or they would have taught us. But what I'm saying is, if you were never introduced to them and never told that they were okay, then chances are you're going to have some issues later on and throughout your life. Okay. And that leads us to having some boundary myths. Okay, we've got some ideas around boundaries that maybe aren't true, that are keeping us from being able to set them comfortably, and we'll get to that in a minute. And so today we're going to dive through those 3 boundary myths. The first one being setting boundaries is selfish. Okay, and that's where that feeling bad can come in. Because again, if you're like me, you were raised to people please. You are here to make other people's lives easier. If you are not in service of someone else, be it family or community or whatever, really, why are you even here? And I know that's how I felt for a really long time. If I'm not helping somebody, if I'm not doing something for someone else, my self-worth is based off what I do for other people. So if I'm not doing, then I have no self-worth, and I'm just being selfish. Okay. That people pleasing, that need to care for everyone around us is downright dangerous. And boundaries are self-care. They're the best type of self-care that you can do. And today is actually National Stress Awareness Day, which I don't know about you guys, but I am very aware of my stress. It's what do I do about it? That's the question. So self-care is essential, but self-care is more than just bubble baths and candles and, getting away for the weekend. Those are all important, but the real self-care is having strong boundaries and knowing that it's okay for you to say no. Okay. So look, there's a ton of benefits of boundaries for yourself. We're not going to go into those because they're kind of the obvious ones. What we are going to talk about is the benefits for other people. And I don't know why I put this one first in my notes, but it made me laugh when I typed it, so it gets first billing. Other people don't have to deal with your resentful ass. Years ago, I was doing, I had this holiday party to go to for an organization I was a part of. And in the morning, I was doing my vision board with my friends. And this is a once a year occurrence that we all get together and we do our vision board. And I look forward to it every year. It's kind of the only time I see these ladies. And I had just enough time to finish the vision board, get back across town to shower, change, and take care of my dog, and then get back across town again to go to the party. And I was so excited. This day was planned out perfectly. And then I got a phone call from one of the guys in the chapter. And he said, oh, you know, there's this older gentleman that wants to go, but he can't drive, and he lives right near you. Can you just grab him on your way? And he sent me the address, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, this is not right near me. This is like a good 20 minutes away and in the other direction from the party. And what I should have said was, I'm so sorry, I do not have time. You'll have to find somebody else. But my people pleasing was on high alert. And instead I said, well, it's really inconvenient for me, but if you can't find anybody else, I'll do it. I'm just guessing I wasn't in his living room, but I'm pretty sure he didn't spend the next hour and a half on the phone trying to find somebody else to replace me. Pretty sure. Instead, he just went, okay, Sheryl will do it. And I did. I went, I picked the guy up, I drove out to the party, and I was a bummer to spend the evening with, because I was angry at myself. I was angry at him for asking me to do this. I was angry at the man that I picked up, who was a backseat driver the entire time we were in the car. But I was resentful of everything, and I was not a lot of fun to be around. So my question to you is, when you do something, agree to do something that you don't want to do, don't have the resources to do, are you pleasant to be around afterwards? I'm not. Yeah. I mean, thank you, Shelly. Like, no, we're just obnoxious, and that anger has to come out somehow. So it like squeaks out in this, I'm just going to be really unpleasant around you. So they don't have to deal with your resentful ass. Number two, they can find somebody else to help them. Okay, and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit in more detail. But when you tell someone, you know what, I just can't help you, that's not being selfish. That's actually giving them the freedom to move on and to find somebody who can support them in the way that they're looking for. And then the last point is, when you're better at setting boundaries, you're better at accepting other people's boundaries as well. And this is why my mission, if you've seen it on any of my content, is to make the world a better place, one boundary at a time. Because when we understand healthy boundaries, when we have healthy boundaries, we're able to accept them from other people and vice versa. And I'll give you an example of that. For years, I was fostering a dog on and off. His mom was out of the hospital. She was often homeless. She was an addict. And I would step in every time, anytime she needed help, and take the dog in, take him for vet appointments, pay for the vet appointments, get him food, all the things. And then one day she decided she was moving to Colorado. I'm here in Vegas. And I said to his owner, I was like, I can't help you in Colorado. I don't have resources there. I can't be there in 15 or 20 minutes. And she said, oh, we're going to be fine. And I knew that she was not going to be fine. And at some point I was going to be called upon to get to Colorado and pick up this dog. If you are hearing a weird noise in the background, that is my other dog having a nightmare or something. So he may be chasing a bunny. I don't know what's happening over there, but that is the weird noise that you are hearing. So, and he's deaf, so I can't wake him up from across the room. So anyway, so I started looking for resources. Who do I know in Colorado who can help me? And I realized one of these ladies that I'd met through a meditation program, she lived there. And I called her and I said, hey, at some point, I'm going to need somebody to go grab a dog and just hold on to him for 24 to 48 hours until I can get there. And she came back a few hours later after speaking to her partner and said, I'm so sorry, I can't support you in that way. And Diana, you've got like this look of shock on your face, and so did I. However, that was the best thing she could have ever done. I didn't realize it at the time because I had crappy boundaries myself, but she was being honest. She was setting her own boundary, and she was giving me the freedom to move on. And that's the best thing you can do. Okay, so boundaries are not selfish, and let's bust out myth number 1. All right, boundary myth number 2. No, this is not one of my dogs, but he's really cute, so he got put up there. Setting boundaries means being rude. Okay, again, some of this goes back to that people-pleasing behavior. If I don't do for everyone else around me, I'm being rude. If I'm not taking care of other people, I am not doing what I am on this planet to do. But setting boundaries is not being rude. It's having priorities. It's being protective of your time and your energy. And it's that knowledge that you can communicate kindly. Okay, the reason I threw this ostrich in here, aside from the extreme close-up, is what is rude is sticking your head in the sand, because that leads to ghosting. Someone asks you to do something and you don't want to do it, but you also don't want to have confrontations, so you end up not talking to them, and days go by, weeks go by. All kidding aside, this is how some relationships are ruined. Okay, so don't stick your head in the sand. Putting off answering so that the other person can get help. And I referred to this a moment ago. This is important because, sorry, I thought, oh, hold on, looking at the chat, I might lose something here. Got it. Yes, I love it. In my school of spiritual psychology, I learned take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. When you put off answering, you're literally not freeing someone up to get the assistance that they need. And that is rude. Okay. And then the last one is saying you can do something when you actually can't. Because when you say that you can do something, when you agree to help someone with whatever it is, you are giving them, you're giving them support. You're offering to do something, and you're giving them hope, I guess is the way to put that. That something is going to get taken care of. And I'm going to, they're going to depend on you. And if you're not coming through with that, that's a problem. Okay. People need to be able to depend on you. And even if it's just knowing that you can't be there for them, that's still depending on you. Okay. I'm going to give an example, and look, my goal here is not to throw anyone under the bus. People have things going on in their lives, and I 100% understand that. So please know I'm using this story purely as an illustration, and not to make anyone feel bad, make anyone feel guilty, or any of the above. Okay. So when you launch a book, when you put a book out into the world, it is a good idea to have a launch team. Okay, that launch team is a group of people that will support you during the launch process when you've got an emotional breakdown ahead. But they're going to read your book. They're going to share about your book, post on it, tell people about it. They're going to buy your book when it becomes available. And they're going to review your book. Okay. And this is to, build up the excitement about it, but it's also to pray to the Amazon gods of algorithms. Okay, because when Amazon sees that you've got a lot of reviews, a lot of people like your book, they're going to put it higher up in the rankings, so it's easier to find, and it's a nice snowball from there. We shoot for 25 to 50 reviews early on in the release process. So I asked about 60 people to be on my my launch team. And friends of mine, these are all people that are friends that I care about, that love me, and I get that. And some of them said, you know, I can't do it. I'm so sorry. I'm super busy right now. I have this coming up. I have this. All good, not a problem. Because they told me no right up front. I wasn't depending on them. I wasn't counting on them, and I wasn't expecting them to come through. But what happened is, many of the people that did say they wanted to be a part of the launch team, they did say that they could help, they could read the book, they could review the book. Many of them didn't. Now, I get it. Again, life gets in the way. However, a commitment was made. No communication occurred after that where they said that they couldn't do it. And that left me short on reviews. Okay. So again, not throwing anybody under the bus. I know life happens, but it's just an example of how when you commit to doing something, someone is depending on you. And if you don't let them know that you cannot help them, people are going to be let down. Okay. All right. So in terms of communication, let me grab a drink. In terms of communication, our goal is to communicate quickly, clearly, and kindly. With quickly, I mean not immediately. Okay, you do not have to make a split-second decision as to whether or not you're going to help someone. Buy yourself some time. I need to check my calendar. I need to check with my significant other. I need to check my finances, whatever it is. Just buy yourself some time, but let them know when they can expect to hear from you. Okay. Hey, you know what? I need to make sure I'm available to assist you. I will let you know by tomorrow at 5 p.m. Or, hey, would really love to participate. I have some stuff coming up, but let me configure my schedule and I will let you know by lunch tomorrow. Whatever it is, whatever that agreement is that you make with someone, do it quickly. Let them know when it's let them know when your answer is coming. Okay. And be respectful. Okay. Being not getting back to them when you said you would, that would be the rude part. Okay. Clearly, I'm very guilty of this, where I kind of talk my way around something because I'm uncomfortable saying exactly what it is. But when you're telling someone no, you're telling someone I can't help you, I can't support you, I can't whatever it is, you need to be incredibly clear. No, I am not available to do this. You don't necessarily have to explain why, but you do have to let them know under no circumstances are you going to be supporting them in that way. Okay. And the last one, kindly. I was speaking to a group of people and one of the guys raised his hand and goes, so do I just tell someone that I'm not going to help them because I don't want to? And I was like, well, I mean, you can. If that's, if you have that kind of relationship with somebody, I have close friends that I would say that to. Did my screen? There we go. Okay. I have close friends that it would be okay for us to say that. But for the most part, you want to be kind. I'm just not available. You don't have to say because I don't want to, because I hate you, because the thought of spending time with you makes me want to like pull my hair out. Like none of those things are necessary. Just be kind. Okay. The reason that there's a QR code down there is not to adopt an ostrich, though I wouldn't put it past me. If you would like a free cheat sheet on how to say no, just click on that or go to You Had Me at No and you can get it. Okay. All right.
I have a question.
Oh yeah.
So on that topic, so what do you do? How do you suggest one manages somebody who doesn't get back to you, who doesn't show you the respect of, you know, the appropriate phone call back or the text message back or the email or something like, you know, my inner New York. It's like, what the heck? You know, why aren't you getting back to me? Like, why are you being so rude? And I would never say that, but I'm sure thinking it. So how do you manage somebody like that? Or don't you?
Yeah. So, first of all, assume it's no. Okay. Free yourself up to go and find somebody else to help you. I would say that's the number one thing. Two is communication. It's saying to them the next time you talk to them, you know, I was waiting for an answer from you, and even if that answer was no, that would have been okay. But I do expect that you show me the courtesy of telling me.
But it wasn't a situation where, can you do me a favor? It was more of a business thing where like, I need an answer for ABC, not do me a favor. So is there a way to handle that diplomatically without being a jerk?
So I need an answer on something. You know, not knowing the situation, I would say explaining to them that there are ramifications of you not getting that information.
Okay.
Whatever that may be.
Sure.
And you don't have to be a jerk, but you can say, this really messed me up. Use your own words, obviously. But this really messed me up. And I would hope, if we're going to work together moving forward, that, you know, the communication is going to be better. Again, I don't know what the situation is, but
sure, of course not. Yeah.
It may be something where you are just not meant to work with that person. Okay, especially if it's like a client or something like that. And I'm not going to go into it today, just time wise, but you know, there are, not every client's a good one, and
right.
Not everybody is meant to be there. So let me jump on. If we have time after, I'd love to dive into that more if you want, or I will see you later and we can talk about it.
Exactly.
So, okay. And my computer seems to be a little slow, so I apologize if it's going in the wrong direction. One more. Come on.
You were buffering at one point.
There we go. Okay. And boundary myth number 3 is that you only have to say no once. It would be wonderful if you could enforce one boundary and for the rest of your life, everybody was super respectful and you know, understood your boundary and followed what you said. And that is a magical place with unicorns. And yeah, it's not going to happen. So that is a huge myth that we have. Look, I have been doing this behavior for me, it's been 40 plus years. You know, throw your own decades in there, which means that the people around us, our family, our friends, our coworkers, our clients, or whatever, have expected this of us for the last, throw your own decade in there. It's going to be a little bit difficult for them to accept that you have changed, the situation has changed, and that you are no longer their go-to for absolutely everything, from I need money to I didn't get my work done on time and I need somebody to step in and do it for me. That's going to take some time to deal with. Okay. And there we go. The other part is people have the memories of goldfish, especially when it's something they don't want to remember. Okay, when it is a situation like, oh, they said no last time, but maybe it'll change the next time. We forget the things that we don't want to remember and that we don't want to be true. Okay, and that's really true of all of us. So people are not going to like that you are no longer there to pick up their mess. Okay, which is why I wanted to make the point earlier on that boundaries aren't necessarily you feeling bad or not feeling bad. It's just being able to say no, because there is going to be some guilt in the beginning. There is going to be some discomfort. People are going to push back. Well, you did this the last time. Why wouldn't you help me now? They're going to use guilt. Well, I mean, if you don't do this, my kid's going to have a terrible birthday party, or my work's not going to get done and I'm going to get fired. All not your problem. But they're going to use these tactics. They might even use intimidation. If you don't want to date me, I can't be friends with you anymore. Okay? We've heard things like this our entire time, and there are boundary busters among us. Okay, there are these people that are going to disrespect every boundary we throw down. There's a small part of the population that's actually going to be like, oh, hey, they got boundaries, awesome, and they're going to adjust real quick and real nice. But it's a very small part of the population. For most people, they're going to be uncomfortable with this, and they're going to use all those that pushback and the guilt and the intimidation. But eventually, if you hold your ground, which is the important thing here, once you've said no, don't change it, because the moment you change it, just like when you're training a dog. Okay, if you say, I trained my dogs that they have to sit and get a kiss on the head before they're allowed to eat, because I was tired of getting bum rushed at the food bowl. And they're amazing at it because food's a really nice prize at the end. But the second, the day that I tell them they don't have to do that I just let them go, that's the day that they have you. And exactly what I'm saying. As a parent, I know that my daughter does not take no for the answer. She will push till she gets her way, because she knows she can. She knows that eventually you're going to give in to the pushback, the guilt, the intimidation, whatever it is. I am not a parent, so I do not give parenting advice. But I will say from a behavioral training standpoint, the moment you give in, the moment that you reverse your decision, is a moment of weakness. There's actually a really great book called Don't Shoot the Dog, which I highly suggest for everyone. It's actually about clicker training. However, it's for behavioral training with people as well. And if people don't get what they want, they'll change their behavior. Okay, so I'll leave it at that. Don't Shoot the Dog. It's by Karen Pryor, and I do recommend that book for anybody dealing with that kind of pushback. So hold your ground, and look, the people can either change or they cannot change, because we can't control other people. What we can do is control how they affect us and how we allow them in our lives. I am not suggesting you kick your daughter out of your life. Please let me be clear on that one. But there are certain people that will disrespect our boundaries and do not deserve to be in relationship with us anymore. Okay. So you're going to have to say no more than once. All right. And okay, so we're just about wrapping up here. I am in the process of putting together a whole bunch of different classes and courses and all the things, but at the moment they're not done. So I just want to make an offer. If you have any questions, if you have anything boundary related that that you want to work through with somebody, I would be more than happy to be your boundary buddy. That QR code will bring you to my calendar, as will the link at the bottom. Let's sit down, let's have a quick Zoom chat and see if I can help you in any way. That is about all I've got. Here is my contact information if you have any questions or anything. And that'll be in the follow-up email as well. That is my cell phone number. So I do not answer before 9 or after like 7 or 8 in the evening, because that was a boundary that I had to put forth for a client who kept texting me at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. So just so you know, that's out there. Okay. I will leave you guys with this. You have the right and the responsibility to set healthy boundaries. Thank you so much. Stopping share. There we go. If you have any comments, any feedback, please shoot me an email. I'm going to send the recording later today. But like I said in the beginning, this is my first one. So if you have any comments, any ways to improve it, I would truly appreciate them. And thank you for being here, and yeah, reach out to me if you have any questions.
Thank you, Sheryl.
Thank you.
You did a
Have
great
a good
job.
one.
Thank you.
Thank you too. See you later.
Thank you.